Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode number 30 of the Wulong Talks podcast. My name is Jason, and as always, I'm joined by the crew. We've got the Big A, the Man Geek up north. Alvin, say what's up.
Evening.
And we've got Rich Kid, the Rustling Kid, back in the house with us as well. Rich Kid, say what's up.
Hello there.
Well, we've decided for today that we're going to have a listener mail episode because we've got loads of you out there who listen to us, and we have had a few questions come in to us as well this week. So we're going to devote this episode entirely to you and to the things that you've asked us to talk about and to deal with. So if you got your question in, listen out for it. We'll be reading it today. If you didn't, well, you moved too slow. So next time you're going to have to get in touch with us, and I'll let you know how you can do that at the end of the podcast. But first and foremost, I mean, it's been a while since we've been recording here, so we hope you guys are well who are listening. Boys, what have you been up to, man? Alvin, how have you been? Where have you been? Did anything cool? Anything nice?
You know what? Whenever you ask me that question, I always kind of my brain just empties itself of everything, and I actually can't remember. Yeah, I've just been doing the usual comics, movies, bit of gaming here and there. Saw Kingsman the other night, which was sick, and yeah, just the usual stuff.
Cool, cool. What did you think of Kingsman? Yeah, was it good? Because I haven't been to see it yet.
Yo, I enjoyed it, man. It's got mixed reviews apparently, but like, if you were going if you were going to see the film, not to expect to see cool fucking violence, action scenes, a bit of swearing, and over the top violence as well, then you're an idiot. You know what I mean? Because that's what the last one was. That's what this one's going to be. But it's going to be a next story, innit? And also, it feels like old school James Bond. It feels like a send up and an homage at the same time as well, innit? So as long as you like that kind of shit, you'll be fine. But if you don't, and you're like a fuddy duddy, you're not going to enjoy it.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. Rich, how you been, man? It's been a while since you've been on. Let the people know what you've been doing, apart from hobbling along on your one foot.
Yeah, well, I mean that's it really. Told you if I'm out of the boot now, so I'm like walking on both feet, and just basically just trying to rehab that. So I've missed out on quite a few comics to be honest. So I've got a bit of catching up to do. And yeah, just watching a few films here and there. Nothing recent, nothing new, nothing in the cinema. I'm still yet to see Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, just really chilling. So hopefully we should maybe be able to do a review of Kingsman too next week because I think we should be seeing it this week at some point. Yeah, Jay.
Yeah, definitely. I was actually going to say that what we're going to start doing, one of the things that I want to start doing with us anyway, because we've had a lot of requests for it, is to start doing more movie reviews. A lot of you have said that you're interested in our opinions on a lot of the films that are out at the moment, and not just that, but also things that are out on streaming and things that you can rent and things like that. So yeah, that's something we could definitely do. We can definitely do some more reviews. So one of the things I'd like to do going forward is maybe have like a separate podcast where we just do a 20 to 30 minute review of a film, and we could recommend whether we think you should go and see it or not. So if you boys are down with that, then that's something we'll definitely provide for you listeners. What do you think, guys? Good idea? Bad idea?
Yeah, seems all right.
Yeah, cool.
Good idea.
Wicked. Well, we'll do that going forward then. So, said listeners, keep your eyes and ears peeled. We'll let you know on our usual channels on social media when that's happening. But you asked, we listen, and that's what we do here at All Long Talk. So, cool. All right. Well, I've been all good myself. I've been away on holiday and catching some sun. I've been working, and then I've managed to end up with a chest infection. So, if my voice sounds a bit dodgy on the microphone tonight, listeners, sorry. As said, I am dealing with it, and it's kind of gross, really, really gross, actually. So if you hear me hawking and things like that, I'll try and avoid it from the mic because I know that's not a good look for you when you're listening to the audio for this. But yeah, as I said, I'm kind of struggling a little bit. But you know what? Whilst we still got 2 legs and 2 lungs, we're going to keep this Wulong Talks thing moving. So don't worry about that at all. So anyway, as said, we've been listening to you, our listeners. We've got loads of you all around the world at the moment. I was checking out our statistics recently on SoundCloud, and we've been doing like gangbusters, like real gangbusters, guys. we've had a lot of listens, a lot of downloads, a lot of plays, and this is only through SoundCloud as well, because I haven't even actually got around to checking the analytics for like iTunes and stuff yet. But we've got loads and loads of people who are listening to us, and people from all over the world as well, which is awesome. So thank you to all of you who listen to us regularly, and to those of you who contribute to us regularly as well, who answer our tweets and talk to us on Instagram and leave comments and likes. Thank you. We really appreciate it. So please keep that going. And don't be afraid to let us know who you are as well, because you've heard us, we're sociable. Apart from Alvin,
Yeah.
But otherwise, me and Rich are sociable. We'll talk to you. So please do let us know who you are and where you're from as well. We're genuinely interested to know, about you, listeners. So as said, we've been doing really, really well with our plays and our feedback from you. So we wanted to dedicate this episode to you. So with that in mind, we've got a couple of questions from you, the listeners, that we're going to work our way through here today. So let's get started, shall we? So we'll go with the first one. This one I really liked, actually. This is a really good question. This has come from Luis on Twitter. Luis, what's up? Me and him have spoken a little while, so big up yourself. He asked the question, at what age did you first watch an R-rated movie? Now, for those of you who are not in America listening to this, R-rated would be the equivalent, I guess, for UK people, that would be about sort of 15 to 18 certificate. I think that's about right. Is it, Alvin?
Yeah, it depends on as to how much violence is in a movie normally. But now R-rated movies tend to be definitely 15s rather than 18s. It's only an 18 when it's like really extreme.
Yeah, exactly. So, his the first part of his question was, at what age did you first watch an R-rated movie? And the second part was, what age is suitable for that to happen? So, in other words, I think what he was asking was, if you were a parent, at what age would you allow your kids, say, to watch something that's R-rated? So, Rich Kid, we'll start with you. What age did you first watch an R-rated movie?
You know what? I think I couldn't tell you an exact age, but my sister wasn't born, and there's 7 years between us, and she was born when I was 7. I've had a couple of drinks, mate. I had a couple of drinks with a friend I haven't seen in some time. So when she was born, I was 7 years old. So it was definitely before that. So I'm not sure if that's saying anything bad against my parents for allowing me to watch an R-rated movie. But off the top of my head, the first R-rated movie I watched was either, I'm not sure if Godfather Part 1 could be classed as that, but I know for definite Scarface, as in like the Al Pacino one. That was the first R-rated movie I watched.
Right. And did you get to watch like one of the full uncensored version, or was it like one of the ITV specials where they?
No. So guys, if you obviously we know how old we are, but we have to keep on reminding our listeners, is that we're quite a mature age, still looking good for our age, but we're quite mature in the numbers. So basically, back then I actually don't think there was any such thing as like a censored or edited version. So I watched this shit on videotape. And we went and rented it from our local video shop in Battersea.
Oh, right. So it wasn't on TV, it was actually on a video.
No. This shit was on video. And basically back then you could rent stuff, and instead of like, if you were friends with like the owner, you could just say, listen, can I keep it for another day? Here's some money for me to rent out again. So I remember having this videotape in my house for maybe because I was young, but it felt like fucking ages. And we'd have like different aunties and uncles come and watch the film, and in different times. So before the age of 7, I think I'd seen Scarface at least 10 times, and it wasn't uncensored. Wow. And let's put it this way. And I'm not a violent person.
And that makes you the man you are today, right?
Yeah, that makes me the man I am today. I'm not a violent person. Don't shoot guns. Don't take cocaine. Maybe like my women a little bit. I might say coño every once in a while, but that's about it.
Okay, cool. Alf, what about you, man? What was the first R-rated movie that you saw?
Yeah, that's difficult to remember. I think it's going to be one of 3 movies, and I think the age is probably going to be. Is this watching the whole film or just seeing bits of?
I guess the whole movie, yeah. So from beginning to end.
Oh,
Was it a porn film? It was a
really
porn film.
hard.
Tell the truth.
Why would it be? No, it wouldn't be that at all, you idiot.
Well, porn film
You've
was
had too many drinks, mate. Um, I think I was probably around maybe the age of like 9, and I can't remember as to which one would have came first, but I think it might have been Universal Soldier.
Oh wow.
Okay, and how did you watch that? Was that TV or video?
TV on ITV one time when my dad was home from work, and usually, obviously, because it was back in the day, one TV in the living room and that. When dad's got control of the remote in it, you ain't allowed to watch shit. But he let me watch the whole thing, which was fucking awesome. I was so fucking pleased with myself. I watched the whole fucking movie and then went upstairs to bed.
Okay, cool. My first R-rated movie was Lethal Weapon, the first one. But it was on TV, and as Richard said, we're of a certain age. So this was back at a time when British television was quite heavily censored. But what they would do is, instead of like just cutting a full scene out, I mean, they did cut certain scenes out of certain films. If it was just deemed there was no way to kind of get around it. But what they would do is, particularly with things like language, they would substitute one word for another. So they would actually redub the audio for the film to replace swear words with other words. The reason why it always stood with me is because I remember when it came on TV, there was one scene where I think it was Riggs who said something to a bad guy along the lines. I can't remember the exact line now, but it was something along the lines of "Eat this motherfucker and shove it up your ass" or something like that. And I remember vividly in the scene, he kind of mouths that, but the audio says, "Eat this mother bunner and shove this up your fun hole." And I remember turning and looking at my mum and going like, "What?" And I was about, like, bear in mind, I must have been about, God, how was that? About 9, maybe 10. And my mum just kind of looked at me as if to say, "Don't ask, don't ask me to tell you what it is." But yeah, that was the first movie that I remember seeing that was an R-rated movie that I saw in its entirety, and that was thanks to the TV. So yeah, that was a good one. And I guess I'll put the second part of the question to both of you at once, although only one of us here really is a parent, so probably Richard, you should probably answer it first. What age do you think would be suitable for a child to watch an R-rated movie? I mean, presumably this would be, as a father, you would want to be watching the movie with your son at the same time so that he doesn't absorb anything that he doesn't understand and draws the wrong message from. But at what age would you deem suitable for that to happen?
It definitely have to be older than me. So I'd probably say about 6.
Mhm.
I'm chatting shit, bro. 6 years old.
Fucking hell, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, you're a very liberal father, bro.
Yeah.
Very liberal.
Listen, I don't know, because it just feels as if kids are a lot sharper than we are. Like,
Nah,
I mean, like when it comes to violence and stuff like that. I mean, in fact, in saying that, I can tell you a story of a guy I used to go to school with, who's actually quite famous now, and him coming to my house after school one day, and he was playing, let's play police officers and criminals, and basically we had to search my room for a bag of coke. And then when we did find the coke, like he even opened, like he pretended to open it up and like pretend to sniff it and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, this is the real stuff. So, I mean, yeah, yeah, maybe, I don't know. My boy copies certain things from Transformers, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Like he'll say things like, yeah, kill the robot, or like the robot's dead, and I don't know, it just kind of breaks my heart somewhat. Like, I mean, obviously he has to be a decent age, so I'm not thinking anything over 12, 11, 12 really.
Cool.
And then it's going to depend on on how he takes things.
Yeah.
Like, if between the age of 5, which he is now, and the ages of 12, and he has like this nice affinity for knives and like guns, he ain't watching shit. I don't care how old he is. Like, I don't want to be in the front of the newspaper where people start talking about my son saying, "Yeah, I knew he was a wrong," and when his dad let him watch that film. Like, no, no, no. So I'd say about 11 or 12 within reason, and and what type of violence or what type of thing it is that makes the film R-rated.
Mm, mm. Okay, fair enough. Alf, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I think, yeah, for me, around, depending on the maturity of the kid, like kind of 10 upwards, and it depends as to what kind of R-rated movie it is as well.
Yeah.
So say for example, something like John Wick, say if it was a kid's birthday, maybe at a push, I'd be like, yeah, there are a lot of headshots in there, but the film's fucking cool. So maybe a 10-year-old, if they're mature enough. Other than that, then yeah, I kind of agree with Rich. Like the 11 and 12 mark, start letting them doing it around there. Action mostly, but like anything else, and obviously kind of like gross out humor comedies and shit like that. I think that's fair enough for them. But anything else other than that, I don't think's like really right, because they see action anyway, so they're desensitized to violence a certain amount. So
I guess you would want to be in the room when they do
oh
it.
yeah, hell yeah, I'm not just gonna fucking leave the room and let them watch it by themselves. No way. And then I'll lecture them afterwards.
Yeah. I think I kind of agree with both of you, really, in the sense that age-wise, I guess maybe 12, depending on the emotional maturity level of the child. And yeah, obviously, I'd want to be there as well, because you want to be able to kind of put certain things in the right context for a child. So yeah, I think maybe 12 is about the right age, I would say. All right, Lewis. Well, thank you for the question, man. That was a brilliant question. So you've got us off to a good start. So thanks a lot for that. All right, let's see. Next question. This one comes into us from Des. Des asked, is Supreme Emperor Snoke some kind of Jedi vampire or parasite? Alvin, Mr. Star Wars, you want to take that one?
Yeah, firstly, it's Supreme Leader Snoke. And is he a kind of Jedi vampire or parasite?
I think that was sorry, I don't think.
Okay, no worries. I don't look, man. I don't play this fucking game of like theorizing Star Wars shit, because there's no point. People are usually wrong. Like for example, before Rogue One came out, people were like, "Oh, is Diego Luna is he playing Biggs Darklighter?" It's like, no, he's not. Of course he's not. Biggs was on Tatooine when fucking A New Hope happened at the very beginning, and then he left before Luke left. So no, he's not playing fucking Biggs Darklighter. He's a different character who just happens to have a bit of facial hair like him. That's it. So I don't theorize when it comes to Star Wars in any way, shape, or form. I just wait to see the shit, and then hopefully it works out. But yeah, I don't theorize. I just can't be asked, because people are usually wrong. I can't think of any time when like anyone's theorized something and been correct about it in regards to any new Star Wars movies.
Okay, well, that was a completely non.
Sorry, it's just my rule. I just don't do it. I just can't theorize. I think it may be a character that's he'll probably his past will probably be like mentioned in a book somewhere or something like that. But I don't think he's a character that we've seen in the original trilogy before or anything like that. I think he's someone brand new, essentially, someone who didn't appear until after Return of the Jedi.
Right, cool. Well, Rich, you're much more fun than Alvin is, so please feel free to speculate and give a shot at Dez's question for him.
I think if it did happen, it would be interesting. Because it would bring a bit more lore to, like, the power which is the Force in Star Wars universe. So it'd be something different, and it would kind of like stick to them trying to expand the universe as well, since they made a lot of like other things like non-canon in the expanded universe books and games and stuff like that. Another reason why it'd be interesting, because it would just basically be able to see the Force but used in a different way. I mean, they've always alluded to it in books. Like, some people are able to affect more natural things, and some people are good at like machinery, and some people are just good at like just doing mind control and things like that. So this could be another thing that they might be trying to bring in. I would like to see it, just because it'd be something different.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about it, as much as we like Star Wars, and a lot of us are might like Star Wars for like Han Solo, whatever, like the Force and Jedi's are they're the main thing that runs throughout all of the films. And to be honest, it's only in the past few years where we've really started seeing like people do cool shit with the Force. When you watch the original trilogy, as much as I do like it, it's just always about Force push, Force pull, a little bit of like telekinesis and speaking to ghosts. So this would be a nice little opener to to the Force.
Mm-hmm. Is there any kind of because I don't actually know, so I'm asking the both of you. Is there any kind of reference to like vampirism or vampire mythology within Star Wars and the expanded universe? Because I can't think of anything, but I don't know if either of you two know.
Yeah, I think not a Force vampire. I've read stories of like the old empire, of like the old Republic, with characters like Ulic Kraldroma and I think I can't remember the other guy's name, but I fought against a guy called Exar Kun, who ends up coming back years later. In a trilogy called the Jedi Academy, where it's like Luke opening a new Jedi Academy to help him, protect the universe or to protect the galaxy. And there is a bit where a bunch of Jedi's have to defeat Exar Kun. They have to drain the Force for him and put blockers. But then it's actually quite a really fantastic battle where basically they're all in their ships above the planet, and I think he's on. Alvin, you'll probably remember the name, but it's where the Siths have like their Jedi or their Sith temple,
Oh,
and he
Korriban,
uses that.
is it? Or
Yeah,
something like that?
that's right. Yeah,
It was called. What's called?
Caravan.
Korriban.
Yeah. And there's a temple there that used to be owned by the Mandalorian warriors, and he uses that, and you basically find out that the temple was a great focal point for the Sith side of the Force, and he uses that to like just cause mass destruction by having their ships up in the up in space, and they drain, and so they end up draining him with the Force and putting blockers on him, but then he ends up becoming like a Force ghost, and that's how he escapes. But then I'm sure there are like some types of characters that have something similar to that as well. And I like the sisters. There were like three sisters on one planet that Luke ended up going to. But not but back to the original question, nothing as a thing of like you see people fighting and it's just somebody just draining somebody else. And physically or force wise becoming more powerful while this other person dies, so to speak. I'd be interested, like even if let's say even if it comes out before and Des is right, I would still be excited to see that, because like I said, it'd be something completely different to what we've seen.
I think the closest thing to vampires in Star Wars is well, that's officially canon still. Yeah, I think it's kind of like the Night Sisters, but they're like more like witches. So
that's what I was thinking of. That's
That's from within Clone Wars. Wait, yeah, they were in Clone Wars. Yeah, but they're the closest thing I can think to of vampires or any kind of like, or anything like that, any kind of mystical kind of thing with the Force.
Yeah, you know what did come into my mind when you said the thing about the vampire, Jason, and remember we discussed this when Des actually told us a question. If let's say if it is something like that, and somebody turns on and is like, oh no, it's never really happened, there is always that bit where Anakin fully succumbs to becoming Darth Vader, and he does that thing where he kneels in front of like Palpatine, and Palpatine stands over him, and he's holding his hands over him, and as like Anakin's just giving himself, and he's like swearing his oath to him that I'm now Darth Vader, and Palpatine stands over him and makes that funny noise where he's just going, and he's just and Anakin, and you can almost see Anakin, if not physically, but like just the way how he's talking and the way how that despair, knowing that he's done something wrong, but needs to do it to become something else, and Palpatine's just basking in it. So it could be something like that, where if somebody says it hasn't really happened, then they could be like, well, let's do a little bit of restructuring, and yeah, you have seen it, you just didn't know it was happening. So there's that.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. It definitely is an interesting idea, and it's definitely one I would be interested in seeing. Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, Des, I don't know. Like honestly, I don't know. And there isn't. I guess from what we've seen so far in episode 7, it's hard to kind of put together the pieces to say that he definitely is something like that, or a parasite of some type. But I wouldn't rule it out. And yeah, I agree with Rich. It would be definitely interesting to see that because we haven't seen it before, and especially based on what you just said about the Emperor Rich and Palpatine, sorry, and that interaction he had with Anakin in Episode 3, which I do remember actually. Now you brought it up, I do remember that scene, and you're right, he does kind of have this kind of weird, um, like you said, basking in it kind of
Mm.
theme, where he's almost reveling and seems to be almost taking great pleasure in what he's done in a way that we're not used to seeing from Sith. So yeah, maybe there is something there. So I guess we'll have to wait till December and we'll find out then. We'll see. Okay, well, moving on, in keeping with the Star Wars theme, this was a question that came to us from Rich himself, which he asked us this week. And I thought this was kind of a fun question, so I thought we'd just throw it in there anyway. So if I've correct me if I'm paraphrasing you or saying this wrong, Rich, but I think the question what you were asking us was if we could be any Jedi, which one would we choose? Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. So yeah, again, Alvin, you're on point, man. So take it away,
Man. Well, let's just I don't want to be a frog, so I'm not going to choose Yoda, right? So, and we're talking just movies, Clone Wars, and Rebels.
Anything. Any Jedi.
Any. So
Any
even
Jedi.
even shit from Legends.
Well, basically, let's put it this way: if you're gonna choose somebody from Legends, then you're gonna have to educate us about that character as well.
Fuck that noise, man. And I wasn't going to choose anyone from Legends anyway. You know what? I reckon like one of the Jedi's who had like one of the best stories, one of the best arcs, is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like literally the way he started off, and having to train Anakin and then failing in doing that successfully, and then having to fucking go to Tatooine and spend 20 years and fucking end up looking like an old as fuck man when he was like 50. And then, to come back to face off against Vader, to die, and then be reincarnated as a Jedi ghost in order to help Luke. And also, like his fucking awesome battle with Maul in Rebels, like the way he takes out Maul was fucking great. All the shit he did during the Clone Wars as well. Like loads of shit has happened to him. He had like a full fucking life. So yeah, I'd have to pick Obi-Wan.
Cool. Fair enough.
Okay. Nice
Um,
choice.
I guess I'll go next, Rich, and then you can give yours last as it was your question.
Okay.
Unless you want to go next.
No. I'm easy. I'm cool.
Cool. Well, I ain't explaining shit. I'm just telling you. No, I think if it's open to the expanded universe, and as far as I'm aware, this character is still canon, although I don't know. Alvin will correct me if I'm wrong. But I think I would choose Quinlan Voss.
Yeah, he's still canon, yeah.
Yeah, he's still canon.
Okay.
Cool. I think the reason why I would choose him is because he's quite a conflicted character. In some of the expanded graphic novels and some of the books as well that I've read, he's a character who's almost always kind of battling between the light and the dark side. I don't think he fully kind of embraces becoming a Grey Jedi, does he? As far as I'm aware, I don't think so.
No, the last we hear of him is just the Outer Rim sieges, which is mentioned in episode 3. Like
Right.
it's just the one line that Obi-Wan says when he meets with Anakin when Anakin's late for that meeting, and then they have that little discussion. That's the only thing he says about him.
Yeah, so he doesn't fully kind of embrace it as far as we're aware, but he was always a character who was constantly kind of questioning the Force and where it was guiding him. And he reminded me a bit, for those of you who are religious or know your religions out there, he reminded me a bit of Thomas from the New Testament. Doubting Thomas, the one who, kind of doubts that Jesus has been resurrected and puts his fingers in the bloody stab wounds in his stomach and stuff to see if they're real. In a sense that he was not a bad person, but he was kind of always questioning what whether fate was guiding him in the past, whether the Force was guiding him towards the right path or not. And plus, he had dreadlocks, and I always wanted dreadlocks. So yeah, I've never been able to grow my hair long enough, and I'm too old to start now. So and too bald to start now. So yeah, Quinlan Voss, I think for me was the one. So Rich, how about you, man?
See, I was actually going to choose Obi-Wan just because he starts off to me like in Phantom Menace. He starts off to be a bit of a dick, and then he gets to like the second part, and you see him. He's kind of like chilled out, and you see he likes to drink and stuff like that, and he's almost just like a gentleman Jedi, and I like that. And then also like you look at like his hit list and how many Sith Lords he's taken out, and you're just like you're like an unsung badass. Like Yoda gets a lot of like praise and stuff like that, but the only thing I ever saw Yoda do was just do like turn into CGI character and do stupid flips against another CGI character. And I'm like, that's okay, but you know, Obi-Wan, I saw you do that shit for real. But then Alvin took him, so I should have gone first. But, yeah. So I'd actually choose Qui-Gon Jinn. There's two characters
Nice,
I'd like
nice.
to choose, but one I've actually forgotten the name. Is just for the life of God just left me, and it was a character from the the, the Jedi Academy trilogy by Kevin J. Anderson.
Hmm.
Who I think like if you guys ever read the expanded universe or the books, any story that he's written, he really delves into the workings of the Force and kind of leaves like, you know, Han Solo and Princess Leia a bit to the side. Like he really concentrates on Luke and you know just the Jedi's and the Siths and kind of hard and actually goes back to stuff that's happened in the old Republic. Um, but like I said, I can't remember his name, so I won't go there. So back to Qui Gon Jinn. Qui Gon Jinn.
Wait, hold up. It's not
What's that?
Kyle Katan, is it?
No, it's not Kal-Katan. Kal-Katan's from the
Alright.
Jedi Academy
Yeah, he's
games.
from
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
from the
right, right.
games, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. No, this guy. I'll search his name while we're talking. No, but Qui Gon Jinn, just because Qui Gon Jinn was about that life. Like, if anything, not to be bad, anything like Qui Gon Jinn, he should have been black and he should have had dreadlocks and should have just had one big zoot hanging out his mouth because he was just casual and just chilled out. Like that's the thing. Like he could even tell in his fighting style, nothing too flashy, nothing too wild. Like if I don't have to take 10 steps, I'm not going to take 10 steps. I'm just going to stay here in my chilled out zone and just do my thing. But I like that he was wise. And if anything, I think he was ahead of the game compared to the other Jedi's. He always saw the bigger picture. Now, I know some people might turn around and be like, yeah, but it's because of him, you know, that Anakin becomes a Jedi and then Anakin turns into Darth Vader. So you could kind of blame him. But I think that's just all meant to happen. You know, the Force works in mysterious ways. But I just like Qui Gon's laid back, chilled attitude and how he just didn't give a fuck. Like he's not even allowed in like the Jedi Council because he just marches to his own beat. And I like the fact that we've never really had anybody like that in the Star Wars universe. You know, like everybody seems to be like that whole okay, we're Jedi's, we can't have this and we can't have that. Qui-Gon looks like he had it, like he might have had like two girlfriends, let alone not being allowed to have a relationship anyway. So I just like that thing that he just felt a lot more rounded and a lot more human compared to a lot of the Jedi's that you see in the Star Wars universe. And plus, even though he gets taken out by Darth Maul, Qui-Gon was like what 50 something, maybe early 60s. Like you know when he was younger, he was still a badass as well, man. So, and plus, I swear to God, he's just the Jedi version of Taken. So yeah, because it's played by Liam Neeson. So yeah,
I have a very particular set of skills.
yeah, I have a particular set of skills. If you don't bring back my Anakin, I will find you and force choke you.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, let's move on from Star Wars and head into another question that we got from one of our listeners, Dean, who's a long-time listener. Dean, big up your chest, man. Love your support. Thank you, bro. He sent us a question in. He said, what is your take on the upcoming Tomb Raider reboot and your opinion on the casting of Alicia Vikander as Lara Croft? Are we confident that this adaptation will do justice to the franchise? Um, yeah, I mean, we had a trailer recently released for it, the first teaser trailer released this week, and you know, I thought it was pretty good actually, and I'm quite skeptical about video game adaptations in general now. And obviously, there's a certain amount of skepticism I'm still going to hold thanks to Assassin's Creed. But um, what did you make of it, guys? Rich, what did you make of the idea that they were going to reboot Tomb Raider? I guess in line with the new games. And what did you think of them casting Alicia Vikander as Lara Croft?
Um, I mean, to be honest, I just saw it as like another like video game adapted into a film. So I don't really have it in high hopes, and I never had it in high hopes when they announced it like all that time ago either. Um, but it has to. I mean, like film has changed since the last one came out, so it has to be better than the one of Angelina Jolie because I actually wasn't a fan of that. Um, like it had good ideas, but it just didn't. I don't know. It just missed the mark.
Mm.
Um, with the news that Vikander was going to play her, um, I wasn't really too bothered. I know she's a good actress, but she's a bit too hard faced for me. Like she doesn't look like someone who might be able to bring like the jokey side that might be needed in a film like this. Like I watched the trailer. Me and Alvin, we watched a little snippet on YouTube where it shows her training, and she's definitely done the training to do the physical stuff that Lara Croft can do. But if she'll be able to pull it off and make her like a fully rounded like likable character, that waits to be seen. If anything, I'll just be watching a film with just like shit hot action scenes.
Cool. Alvin, how about you, man?
Like Richard was saying, it can't be any worse than the Angelina Jolie one because that one was just about Lara being extreme and jumping off buildings and shit and riding fucking motorbikes and the Great Wall of China and all that crap. So it can't be any worse than that. It's just, for some reason, I like the trailer, but it ultimately looks small. Like it doesn't look like this big survival story. Like if you played a like 2013 reboot of the game, like it's this big survival story of like there's a shipwreck and then they're on this island and then there are all these guys and they're after this thing and whatnot. And this film doesn't feel that big. It feels like an episode of Arrow to me when I see the trailer, and that's not well. And I don't know as to whether it's because the color grading is not done or it'll just look bigger and badder on the screen. But it just kind of looks kind of small and cheap. But not due to it looking shoddy or anything like that. I can't quite place my finger on it, but overall, I think it could be all right. I can't see it being any worse than Assassin's Creed either, because hopefully this film will have personality, which Assassin's Creed lacked any kind of personality. As long as they don't take themselves too seriously, and as long as they kind of tell a survival story, I guess, then they should be okay. The only bits where I went was when you saw us sliding about in that tomb, and that thing like almost like whacks a face but doesn't, and it misses a face by a hair's breadth. That apart, like if they do too much of that kind of crap, then I think they'll lose me. But I don't know. It could be all right. And Nick Frost is in it, and everyone likes Nick Frost.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, the casting is very good. I think Alicia Vikander. I don't know a lot about her, but I've seen her in Ex Machina, and
Yeah, that film's bad.
Like fantastic in that, like really good. And one would hope that if you're a good performer in that, then you can be a good performer in other things. So from what I saw of her in the trailer, she seems pretty good. I mean, you don't get a massive amount of information necessarily about her character or a big kind of preview of what's to come from the way she intends to play the character necessarily, other than kind of a few quick gags and a few action scenes. But yeah, she's very, very good. So I would be positive in that regard. Daniel Wu's in it as well, so I was like, okay, cool, good to see him getting some work outside of Into the Badlands. So happy for him. Walton Goggins is the bad guy, and it's like, when is that ever a bad thing to cast Walton Goggins as a bad guy? Like, it's just, that instantly will improve your film as far as I'm concerned. Whenever he's the bad guy, he makes things happen. His character from Django is just brilliant, man, brilliant. So yeah, no, I'm happy with that. Dominic West is in it as well. Again, a solid kind of British actor, so you can't really go wrong there. Kristen Scott Thomas is in it as well. So yeah, the cast is good. But then again, sorry to bring up the A word, but Assassin's Creed had a good cast too. So and look how that turned out. So It's difficult to kind of say, really, Dean. I'm quietly kind of optimistic, I guess, in the sense that watching the trailer actually made me feel like I was watching live versions of gameplay from the rebooted version of the game. So it does look like they've paid attention to detail to the visuals at least. So visually it looks like it's come straight from the game. But again, so did Assassin's Creed. So we're just going to have to wait and see, unfortunately. I'm quietly confident myself, but yeah, the video games and movies just don't seem to be working at all. And I don't really know a lot about the director either. I mean, I know he is Norwegian apparently. Um, so whatever that means and whatever that's going to do to the way that he films the film, I don't know. But yeah, there you go. But yeah, I think it's looks okay. We'll just have to wait and see. I guess basically, in answer to your question, Dean, none of us are really super confident that it's going to do justice to the franchise, but we all remain open-minded enough to give it a go, I guess, and see what happens. So moving on, we've got another question, which is game themed. Uh, this one we've kind of answered already in previous podcasts. Me and Alvin have kind of answered this one, but you may as well have a go at it as well, Rich. Um, so the question came to us from Alex on Facebook. Thank you, Alex. And the question was, are big budget game reboots ever a good idea? And which games would we like to see rebooted? So, Alvin, we'll start with you.
Uh, um, well, overall, yeah, but they tend not to do them for games that were shit. They usually do them for games that were already good, got a bit long in the tooth, and then reboot. But like, I don't mind them. I'm never really offended by them. But it's kind of difficult because they often don't call rebooted games. So, for example, no one would call Mario 64 a reboot, but it's different from all the previous Mario games. You know what I mean? So it's kind of difficult to say. I think they can be a good idea. Like reinventing like Resident Evil was a good idea, although it didn't make an incredible amount of money for Capcom. Reinventing it to like a first-person kind of horror game, actually, because I'll technically call that kind of a reboot in a way, but that's more of a reboot in regards to gameplay rather than anything else. But no, I think it can be a good idea because, to be honest, I think things have kind of started to get stale and people want different kinds of experiences now and kind of more varied experiences. So yeah, no, I don't think it's bad when they necessarily do that. And as to which games I would like to see rebooted, again, that's a fucking hard question as well, because when you play a shit game, you don't want to buy it. You don't want to see it rebooted if it was shit. You only want to see something rebooted if it's not been around for a while.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of something now from like the 360 that. No, I can't think of anything I want rebooted in terms of games.
Well, we'll come back to you. Think about it. Rich, how about you, man?
I actually can't think of any game I'd like to see rebooted either. I mean, if there was a game that I did have to choose, let's say if you had a gun to my head, I would choose a game that's already kind of like had a sequel come out for it and / rebooted, and that was like I think the past year or so, and that'd be Mirror's Edge.
Oh God.
Yeah. Because like I said, like me and Alvin were big fans of like both of the games, and the second part, it just lost it. It just didn't know his ass from his elbow, and that's really, and I found it really, really interesting considering that the first game, which had quite a few flaws, was still ahead of the curve, or still ahead of the game when compared to like other games that have tried to use that same format years later. So things like, I think, Dying Light, where you're fighting against zombies and you're also doing parkour and stuff like that. But Mirror's Edge was, I think, it's a underrated classic. And the sequel which came out, which tried to reintroduce the character and that world to to new players, it failed really, really badly. And I find that really upsetting, considering it's the same company, and they're using a more powerful machine as well. So I'd like to see them reboot that and fix all the flaws and the mistakes and and shit that they didn't really think through properly, and really come back and wow people with with what they could pull off if they did it properly, especially with things like VR headsets and things like that. Come on, like Mirror's Edge, where you're playing a parkour person who has to run literally across a whole city with VR. Come on, I'd buy a VR headset just to play that game if it was fucking good. So yeah, so that's a game I would choose to reboot. And what was the second part to that question? If a film to play, was it?
No,
Was
the
it?
first
Was
part
it?
was are big budget game reboots ever a good idea?
Yeah, yeah. And which games would you like to see rebooted? Okay, are big budget game reboots ever a good idea?
Well, I guess you've answered your own question, really.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Okay, your turn, Jason. Okay, bye bye.
Are big budget game reboots ever a good idea? Yeah, I suppose they can be. In a sense that they can bring to a new audience a game that had a lot of success and is a game that is dear to people's hearts, but can bring it back in a way that is accessible to a newer audience. So yeah, I suppose a big budget game reboot can be a good idea, but obviously, again, provided that it's done with the same kind of love and attention that the original developers used when creating the game. As long as that's in there, then great. But if it's somebody who's doing it for a quick cash in, then no. I mean, like the we were speaking about Tomb Raider before, and the initial Tomb Raider games are considered classics by some of the hardcore gamers out there. But this reboot was one that a lot of them felt did do justice to the spirit and to the essence of that original game, whilst kind of bringing something new to the gameplay. So I guess ultimately what you'd want to do if you were to go down that road is to try and do something like that, where you're presenting the same kind of positive aspects of the original game and the same experiences and the same feelings that people had with it, but in a way that will draw in people who maybe perhaps weren't gamers when the original games came out. So yes, I wouldn't write the idea off. It would depend on what somebody chooses to reboot, but yeah, I would go for it. As for a game I'd like to see rebooted, I want to see a comeback for side-scrolling beat 'em ups. So the game that I would like to see rebooted is one of my favorites of all time. It would be Final Fight. I really want a version of Final Fight that embraces the technology that we have, but is in keeping with the kind of ludicrous spirit of the original game. So it still needs to be, for me, at its heart, it still needs to be a button basher. It still needs to be something that encourages co-op play and multiplay, and has the same kind of ridiculous storyline about a mayor who's a wrestler who comes out of retirement to save his daughter who's been kidnapped by a gang that could only exist in a computer game because no gang in their right mind would dress that way. And that kind of thing is something that I would love to see in as I said, with today's technology. So yes, Final Fight is the game I'd want to see rebooted. But that said, whoever decides to do that better do it right. Because if you don't do it right, I'm going to be pissed, and you're going to know about it. So yeah, that would be it for me, I think. What do you guys think? Would you do a fight? Would you play a Final Fight reboot?
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Easily. Yeah, I love the first one. Second one not so much. Third one was okay, but yeah, and like yeah, it'd be fucking awesome. And plus they're Capcom characters and they're kind of like deep rooted in Capcom lore now through Street Fighter as well. So it's not as if like you'd have a hard time in reintroducing these characters to new players either. You could just go for what's already there. Yeah, I'd play that.
Cool. Alvin, how about you, man? Would you?
No, I'm more of a Streets of Rage kind of guy.
Ooh,
Cool. That's also
okay.
another one. Believe me, that like Streets of Rage is is right up there with my games as well. My side-scrolling beat 'em ups. That is one of them. I've still got it. I've got it on got it on my phone. So yeah, like Streets of Rage is right up there. So I could do with a Streets of Rage reboot as well. Yeah, I'll buy into that any time of the week, man. Okay, well, listeners, let us know what games you'd like to see rebooted as well, because I think that was quite an interesting question. So thanks a lot for that, Alex. And I think we're coming towards the end. Oh no, there was one more question I was going to sneak in here, which I'm not going to answer because it's my question and I'm pitching it. Well, it's kind of not my question. It was Richard's question initially because he asked it earlier. But the question is a simple one, boys, and it's for the two of you. Who do you think in the world of pop culture, or rather, no, I shouldn't say who do you think. I should rephrase that. I should say, who would you choose in the world of pop culture to take on Pennywise from It?
Blade.
Oh, shit.
Why Blade?
I don't know. That's just the first thing that came to my head. I was just like, I ain't scared of shit. He's Blade, in it. So if he can take on vampires, I'm sure he can take on like a demon or whatever.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah,
honest. I
makes
think
sense.
Blade's getting destroyed. You know,
Nah, Blade, in it. Especially if it's Wesley as well,
destroyed.
in it, not Sticky Fingers.
Sticky Fingers will just spit bars at him, innit?
Shit bars like that.
Laugh. Rich, how about you, man?
You know what? Like, I know there's people out there that would, the reason why I thought of this question is because, like I saw a few memes out there when the It reboot came out, or the It reboot came out, and then I think there was one that I saw of Pennywise attacking Batman, and then basically Batman just saying something to Pennywise, and Pennywise, the next picture is like Pennywise going, "Sorry to bother you, sir," and I'm just like,
oh, I saw that meme.
yeah, you saw that meme. I'm like, yeah, we know Batman's tough, but
no, come off it.
Like, come on, man. Pennywise.
People you could pick, like Batman has so many fears and so many complex like mental issues. He's the last person you would pick to go up against Pennywise. The last, because Pennywise would manipulate him easily.
Yeah.
If you're picking somebody, you need somebody who has no fear at all of any kind, or can at least disguise their fear very well. And has an ironclad will as well. So Blade, on the face of it, I think Blade would be a good choice, but he does have his fears as well, especially if you're talking about comic book Blade. But I'll go back to that. But sorry, go on, Richard.
So I've got a couple. I mean, like Terminator, like that's a win because you can't really manipulate him. And he won't stop until he rips your fucking head out. You can't negotiate with him. He fears nothing, answers to nobody. So he's not gonna stop.
He will not stop until
and he will not stop. Am I gonna get my Oscar now for that piece of acting? So I would like that because it's basically machinery versus not even like magic, supernatural, forces. So that would be a good battle. And then, so I chose 3. So the next one I chose would be like basically the Predator, because that's 2 hunters just in very, very completely different ways. And we don't really know a lot about the predator race. I mean, we know that they have things like emotions and stuff like that. But but I'd like to see what scares a predator, because these are fucking
we've already
badass.
seen that. A queen alien scares a predator.
Yeah, no.
In Alien versus Predator, you see that queen and it's like, shit.
That's no longer canon, Alvin.
Yeah.
I don't care, but that's an example.
So,
I never considered those films canon either, but still.
But I mean, like, when backed into a corner, I'd like to see what the predator would do. So I chose that, and then the third one I chose was would be like the alien from Alien, because that's what were you gonna say? No, I thought you were gonna say something. I thought you were gonna say something.
No.
Okay, yeah. So my third choice would be like the alien, because like I said, once again, it's a hunter, but in a completely different way as to how the predator does it, or or how the Terminator does it, and then completely different to how Pennywise goes hunting as well. So I'd like to get an insight as to how that battle would pan out.
Hmm,
So yeah, those are the three that I would choose.
hmm. Okay, okay, interesting, interesting. Um, in terms of the alien, that could be interesting because the alien doesn't really, as far as we know anyway, the alien doesn't really like display emotion of any kind.
Yeah.
It
Well,
just
we've seen it
it's
display
just a
anger.
kind of um. Oh, we have.
Yeah. So basically, the bit when well, not even well, I suppose it could be down to like that mothering instinct. So that's some form of like raw emotion. But the bit where Ripley has the flamethrower and she threatens all the
Oh, with the
eggs.
alien
Yeah,
queen. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, with
Okay,
the alien
right,
queen.
right, 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 right.
Yeah,
But then
but
in saying
are you
that
is it the Queen or are you saying it's the drones? Which one are you saying though?
no, but I'm just saying that like, well, we see that's the thing we don't know because like, is it that the queen alien is the one who literally has a lot more, you
Hell
know,
yeah.
sentience as compared to the drones, or the
Mm.
drones just soldiers that are just built like that. But then
Of course,
they
because
have a
she
face
tells
on.
them fuckers what to do. Remember when she tells them to back off?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, you know that she
They
orders them to
obey.
back. Well, no, as far as we know, they're not controlled by her. They're not physically, they're not mentally controlled. She just says an order and they back off. So so there's some form of like thinking behind what they do. So either the
Mm.
queen alien or the drone alien. But
But
what I'm
for her
trying to
to
say
do
is
that,
that
she must have heightened emotions in order to
she,
influence others to her will.
Mm.
Because she's not speaking a
Mm.
language. She's an animal, isn't it?
yeah, but they don't have to. How do you
It's
know that?
instinctual.
How do you know they're not speaking a language?
They're not sentient. They're not sentient in the way you or I are. They're like fucking a lion or some shit like that.
I mean, basically, from what know, from what I've read of, the comic books and the books and things like that, is effectively like the kind of the soldiers, the drones are effectively best thought of as like a virus. So
Mm,
they don't, um, they carry a certain amount of intelligence in regards to two things, sort of survival and procreation.
yeah.
But beyond that, it's basically impossible to say whether they do actually have a consciousness, a state of consciousness. It's impossible to say
Mm,
whether they have any kind of ability to logically think about something or to process information in any way. They literally just kind of exist in a state of as said, survival and procreation. That's their two things.
mm,
Whereas with the queen, yeah, there does seem to be a bit more there. Um, but then again, if it's the queen we're talking about, the queen can be manipulated because, as you said, she showed emotion. So if she showed emotion, then that gives Pennywise something to play with there. So yeah, that could be it could be an interesting one. It could be an interesting one. The Predator. I don't know if the Predator would even survive that long, to be honest, because
Now you
again,
know
the
what the
Predator
predator would
is
do.
what's
He'll
that?
is
take off his. He'll put his armor down, and he'll just be
Yeah,
like, "Fuck it."
yeah.
That's what he'll do. Just be like, "Fuck it. I can't hunt this. It's hunting me. Fuck it. I've failed. Let him take my skull and pull it on a wall. You know what I mean?"
Yeah, with the Predator, I don't know. I don't think a Predator would last very long, to be honest. Even a skilled Predator, it's. I don't think it would understand what it's going up against, because again, it would need to understand the idea, because essentially Pennywise, he exists in order to feed on fear in particular. He likes fear, and that's what he's kind of attracted to. But he's able to learn very quickly what things a being fears and to manipulate those things. Um, so the predator would have to have a way to mask its fears, and that's something that I just don't think exists within their technology, really, from what we know of them.
Mm.
But as a raw kind of SmackDown, yeah, it would be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, I don't know if that will do. And who was the other choice again? Who was the first one?
Terminator.
Terminator.
Terminator. Yeah, Terminator. Yeah, that would possibly work. Yeah, because it's machine, so machines don't have especially if you're talking about the T800.
Mm,
It doesn't really have sentience as far as we know, does it? It's not. Although in T2 they kind of explained that the chip has changed and he can learn things, and he can understand emotions and things like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. With the Terminator, that might be an interesting one actually. Yeah, that could be interesting. Could be interesting. For me, I've got no clue who to pick. To be honest, I've honestly got no clue. I don't know, because everybody I thought of, I was just like, but nah, they'd be. The problem is they'd be too easy to manipulate. As powerful as certain people in pop culture are, because they're mostly humanoids, they have fears, which means you're immediately playing into his hands.
Mm,
Um, we could even say send Roland Deschain after him, the gunslinger from the Dark
yeah.
Tower. But even he, again, and he mentions it in the books that you don't go up against Pennywise. Really, you don't, because you don't survive. And especially with adults, it's something from what I've read in the It book. It's something unique to children, in that children have very strong fears, but they also have very strong courage. And once they kind of overcome their fear, children will literally do anything,
Yeah.
whereas adults will still always have a reservation, because we have intelligence, life experience. It's within our nature to kind of still question certain things, even though we may have conquered our initial fear of it, so to speak. Whereas with children, they kind of wholeheartedly will embrace something. So whether it's fear or whether it's courage, if you can convince them to do it, then they'll wholeheartedly do it themselves. So yeah, that's an interesting one, man. Well, listeners, let us know what you think. I want to keep that question going, because that would be good, man. That would be good to find out. Like, somebody out there must have a good suggestion. So
Constantine?
Ooh.
maybe, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe so, like a magician. So like Constantine,
Mm,
Doctor Strange, maybe somebody who perhaps could cast a spell to control their emotions and things like that. That
mm.
possibly might work. So yeah, Constantine's a good late shout. So yeah, as said, listeners, keep your suggestions coming in, man. We'll definitely rumble on with that question, and we'll follow up. All right, I think that's going to do it for us, lads. Let me firstly, though, before we wrap everything up, we need to do a couple of birthday big ups, because we've had a few birthdays with some of our listeners as well since we've been off the air. So firstly, we need to big up Maria Cristina Alegria, who was celebrating a birthday recently. Happy birthday, big up your chest. To Yellow Rage Attacks as well, was celebrating a birthday too. So happy birthday to you. And to Graceful Viking as well, who was celebrating a birthday, big up your chest as well. All right, well, guys, that's it, man. Alvin, what you been doing on your YouTube channel, and how's that been going for you?
Yeah, it's been all right. Yeah, getting a few subscribers here and there, just doing like comic book related content mainly because that's what people seem to be really responding to. So yeah.
Cool. And where can they find you at on there, man?
YouTube.com/Big A the Mank Geek.
Cool. Yeah, Alvin. His most recent video I saw was one which was a review of Mosaic, which I never actually read, although I heard it was really good. So you guys should check that out. Definitely check out that video, because Alvin's got a lot of good things to say about that book. So definitely check that out. Rich Kid, where can people find you, and are you doing anything this week apart from Kingsman: The Golden Circle?
Well, you can find me on Instagram on Rich Reviews. Also the Instagram Wulong Talks, the website www.wulongtalks, which is where you'll find me and Jay on all of those platforms. I think this week I'm just gonna be playing catch up on my comic books that I've missed in the past few weeks, to be honest. Yeah, that and Kingsman, and hopefully somewhere try and squeeze in like Spider-Man Homecoming, which I've done quite well in avoiding spoilers for it. So yeah, so those two things. Um, and yeah, that's it. Oh. Hopefully, I should be finishing Ready Player One, which Alvin has already finished and has also done a review on his YouTube channel. So go check that out. And I think when I'm done with that book, I shall start reading the second book by the guy who wrote Ready Player One, which is called Armada, which Alvin has already read as well, but hasn't done a review for.
No, not yet.
Yeah, that's
So
Ernest Cline's Ready Player
yeah,
One.
yeah. Oh, it's
Yeah.
Klein. That's it. That's his name. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, no, cool. Well, as for me, you said I'm gonna try and catch up with some movies and stuff. and TV as well. I finished off watching. What did I finish? I've watched quite a lot this week. I watched Narco season 3, which I thought was okay, but it kind of seems like they're stretching it a little bit now. To be honest, it's got good reviews, but I wasn't that impressed with it in terms of. I just don't find the particular cartel they've chosen to focus on very interesting. Certainly not as interesting from a character study point of view as Pablo Escobar was. So it's getting harder to kind of justify if these characters are just going to be your typical gangster movie cardboard cutout characters. It's not going to be that fun. So. But anyway, check it out for yourselves, I guess, and let me know what you think about that. What did I also watch? I watched Insecure as well, finally, after being badgered about it, and it was actually quite cool. I enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it, but yeah, it was interesting. It was good. It was good. It was good to see kind of a different, well, a slightly different representation of black people in America, and it was quite a modern take on sort of the girl next door kind of character ideal and how that kind of would work in the modern era with social media and all of those kind of things, and with pop culture influencing everything that we kind of do. So yeah, that was fun. It was very, very fun actually. And I've just started to watch Atlanta because I only watched the first episode when it came out and didn't watch the other episodes. So I've gone back and I've restarted watching Atlanta again. That's really good as well. So I definitely recommend that. And again, it's just like Insecure. It's a really good series for kind of showing African American communities in a different light. So I would definitely recommend that. So I'm going to finish that this week as well. And that's about it. Yeah, I said I'm going to try and catch up on some movies, and I'll make sure we do some movie reviews. What we'll do is, as I said, we'll start releasing them as podcast listeners. So they'll be short, they'll be sort of 25 minutes, but we'll try and get together and discuss a few movies because a lot of you keep asking us to do movie reviews. So we're going to do that, and we'll get those out on the podcast channel. So we'll get them up here on YouTube, and we'll also have them on all our audio channels as well. All right, well, that's it for me. Thank you very much to all of you who contribute questions. Thank you very much to all of you who are listening to us. Please keep listening. Please keep sending in your questions. Please keep tweeting us. Please keep messaging us. You can get hold of me on Twitter. I manage the Twitter account, which is Wulong Talks. So just type that in Twitter and you'll find us. We're really not that difficult to find. Pop that along and, as I said, tweet me and say what's up. Big, ask us for a big up. We'll give you a big up. And especially if you're a UK podcast as well, give us a shout, man. And before I go as well, thank you to Abido and a Weirdo Talk Film as well. They've recommended a film for me to watch called Bone Tomahawk, which I haven't seen. It passed me by when it came out, but I'm going to go and look it up. And I've managed to actually find a good copy of it as well. So I'm going to watch that and I'll let you know what I thought of that. All right. Well, my voice is struggling, as you can hear, listeners. So I'm going to need to go and rest this thing now. So everybody say good night. Rich, say good night.
Good night.
Alvin, say good night.
Good night.
And it's good night from me, and I'm out, man. Peace, listeners, and we'll see you next week. Yeah? Cool.